Hello, friends. This is Dave Hurwitz, executive editor at ClassicsToday.com, here with discs that I bought lots of times, the things that I bought the most frequently in order to preserve them just in case. And I don't mean CDs, I mean good old LPs. These initial ones, anyway, were all on Deutsche Grammophon because, as I explained in my previous video in this series, Deutsche Grammophon was a dust whirlpool. Some of you claim not to have had that issue. Perhaps it had to do with where the disc was pressed. I don't know. But I had that problem, and so did a lot of the rest of you. So I was happy to find out that I wasn't completely insane in watching the vortex of dust and particulate debris form whenever I pulled the disc out of its plastic sleeve with the static electricity sizzling in the background, and off it went. Well, that next one is this. Tchaikovsky Symphonies 4, 5, and 6 with Yevgeny Mravinsky and the Leningrad Philharmonic. Oh, was this special. But here we had a slightly different circumstance, and that's why I'm bringing this disc up. The reason I'm bringing this disc up is because I did not get it from normal Deutsche Grammophon. I got it from a record club. Do you remember those? The record club in question was the International Pervert Society. The International Preview Society. You remember the International Preview Society. Like most record clubs, the way it functioned was that you signed up, and for a very limited amount of money, you got a raft of stuff. And then after that, they would send you their latest release. And I don't think, unlike like Columbia Record Club and those things, I don't think you got new stuff automatically. Here, I think you just got like a brochure or a something, and you could order new stuff. I think there was a no obligation deal. There was a slightly different deal with it. I'm so vague on it, I barely remember. Some of you who were also members of the International Preview Society might remember it better than I do. Actually, it was not a bad idea because they licensed stuff. They licensed stuff from Universal, it wasn't Universal in those days, from the major labels, from Philips and Deutsche Grammophon and whatnot, and they released them, but they released them with their own pressings and their own packaging. And some of those pressings could be a little iffy, let's say. They weren't terrible. And they did give you like plastic inner sleeves and things. There was some sort of passing guess at quality involved. The boxes were definitely inferior. I remember the boxes. Maybe you remember the boxes. They were kind of thick. They were kind of big, like an inch high for even 2 discs. And when you got them, they would always be like sort of concave, right? There was this sort of like they would be dented or somehow bashed in, and when you open them, they would maybe the seams would be busted, or there was some issue with the quality of the boxes in multi-disc sets. It was always a problem. But I got these, and these were amazing. The astonishing quality, because if you grew up listening to like Eugene Ormandy in Philadelphia in this repertoire, Tchaikovsky 4, 5, and 6, as I did, and those were beautiful performances. Do not get me wrong. I am not dogging Ormandy in Philly, but those were the romantic and sort of leisurely and string-oriented, hot and heavy performances. This, oh my God, these were sizzling, fast, insanely disciplined. I remember the notes. They called it a more classical approach. I don't think it was classical at all. It was just intense. It was insane. It was a totally different concept of orchestral sonority from what you heard from Ormandy and Philly. And so I was thrilled by these. I didn't think that they were necessarily better. I truly didn't, and I still don't. They were just different. And of their type, they were extraordinary. Amazing. So what happened? Well, they came in their sort of squished out boxes with the corners busted open, and the pressings, you could tell, were not as high end as standard Deutsche Grammophon material, even though they were not dust suckers in the same way. But they could still be somewhat swishy and kind of inferior. And so I waited and waited and finally found the actual Deutsche Grammophon LPs and got those in addition to my International Preview Society, not least because the box took up much less room than the sort of fat, squishy thing I got from the International Preview Society. It was a packaging issue more than anything else. But of course, once I had the original Deutsche Grammophon pressings, the dust vortex took over, and I had to get more than one so I could make sure that I always had a couple of them in playable condition. And it's been that way ever since. Then, of course, they came out on CD in the regular green thing, and I got those. Then they came out here at DG Originals, and I got these. And so, yes, I don't know how many versions of these I've had over the years. But, Mravinsky made virtually no studio recordings. He did an earlier version of two of these. The other one was with Kurt Sanderling, and in mono, and these were the stereo ones, and they are unbelievably, wonderfully, fabulously terrific. I mean, from 1961. Wow. I mean, we were lucky to have them. We really were, because if you've been running around following Mravinsky and trying to get like good quality copies of all the stuff he did, which is just in pirates, and well, that's a whole nother mess in and of itself. So these were rare, they were special, and they still are. So did you have a similar experience with a record club? Last time we talked about just DG's static issues and the beginnings of our collecting, things we did more than once, but maybe you had some record club experience that you want to share. I had quite a few stories of that type, and oh, what fun it was. So keep on listening, friends. Thanks so much for joining me. Take care.